Kelly Klinger is a former Britney Spears backup singer and Mouseketeer, and her wonderful husband Matt is a PGA golf pro teacher, wonderful guy. So without any further ado, they're going to tell you their story. God bless you. Silent no more.
Thank you so much. This is a lot of people. Wow. As Georgette said, I grew up in the music business. I was an extra on the Mickey Mouse Club for a few years and was a background singer for Britney Spears, and I was living the life, I guess, as some people would think. And in the midst of that, I met a guy, and I got pregnant. And I grew up in church. I knew that abortion was wrong, but I felt at that point that I had no choice. So I called a friend of mine, and she drove me to the abortion clinic, and I had an abortion, and I promised that I would keep it a secret for the rest of my life. A month later, I found out I was pregnant again. There's a very high percentage when a woman has one abortion that she'll have more than one, and unfortunately, I'm part of that percentage. This time I told my boyfriend. He drove me to the clinic, and he waited for me, and the two of us left in complete silence, drove home, and never spoke of it again until 2 weeks later I realized that something wasn't right. And I made an appointment with my doctor, and I went in, and she did a series of tests, and one of the tests she put me under anesthesia, and when I woke up, my doctor was crying. And I was very startled and asked her why she was crying, and she said, "You had an abortion, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes." "How did you know?" Because I was too ashamed to tell her that. And she said, "I found hands and feet inside of your body." When that happens, it's very, very hard to deny what you've done. Calling it a clump of cells or a fetus or any of those terms that we use to deny that it's a child, can't do that anymore when you find hands and feet of your baby inside. So I began a downward spiral into depression, alcoholism, suicidal thoughts and tendencies, and fast forward a few years and I got married, and together the two of us ended up in church. And I met Jesus Christ, who loves to save sinners. Amen. And I began a journey of dealing with different things in my past and still not really wanting to talk about abortion. And I was actually leading worship in a church, and a lady approached me and said, "I'm doing a Bible study in my house, and I really would like for you to come." And I said, "That's great. What is it?" And she said, "It's for women who've had abortions." I had never told anyone. She said that God had showed her that I was supposed to be there, and she was trusting that she had heard him. So I began this Surrendering the Secret Bible study. And one of the exercises that you do in that Bible study is you pray and you ask God the gender of your children or your child, and you name them. And it helps part of the grieving process. And so I prayed, and I felt like God said that our babies were girls, and we named them Goodness and Mercy. For surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Amen. So I went on about life, and I carried on and didn't really think much about the abortions. I thought about my children quite often, and one Saturday I found that people were talking about abortion on Twitter, and they were using the hashtag "I had an abortion," and they were saying things like, "I had an abortion. Not only did I have one, I've had 22. They were saying things like, "I had an abortion and it was so easy. It was the best decision I ever made. It was like getting my teeth cleaned." And I was in shock about what they were saying, and so I wrote my own. I'm kind of feisty. So I said, okay. So I wrote, "I had an abortion. They didn't get all of the baby, and it ruined my life." And within a few minutes, I was under attack. And so I realized that this group that I thought was for women, it was for our stories and for our truths, no matter what they be, no matter what they are, I realized they didn't want my story to be told. So, because I'm feisty, I wrote a blog, and I called it, "I Had an Abortion and I Hate Myself." And I talked about how even though I know that I'm forgiven, there isn't a day that I don't lay my head on the pillow at night and think of my children. There isn't a day that I don't have regret for what I did. And within 72 hours of posting that blog, it had been seen by hundreds of thousands of people. It had been translated into 25 languages. And it had been seen by the Silent No More awareness campaign. And so they contacted me and asked me if I would be a spokesperson. And after prayer, and after talking to my husband, that's what I did. And so 3 years ago, I started traveling, telling my story, and talking about goodness and mercy, and telling people that not only does abortion kill a baby, it hurts women. And so for goodness and mercy, and until abortion is ended, I will be silent no more. Thank you.
I just want to say real quick that I'm the man that she had the 2 abortions with. I was her boyfriend at the time. We were both really young. We had both grown up in church, so we were really afraid of what our parents would have said to us. We had no trust in each other, no trust in God. So when we went through the abortions, we both decided we would never, ever tell anybody about it again. And I pushed it so far down. I was addicted to pornography and alcohol and depression and anything that I could get my hands on to suppress those feelings of what was going on in my life. I did it. Until Kelly found healing that day in that Bible study. I then decided I needed some healing. She started getting it, so I was like, well, I need some too. And you know, it's funny because we always look at this as a women's choice. But when I realized what I had done and what I had not done for my children in the womb, I decided it was time to stand beside my wife of 11 years now and say, we will be silent no more. We will not allow men or women to choose to abort their babies. So not only is it a miracle that we got married, but we've been married for 11 years. We have 2 beautiful children. And because of that, and because of goodness and mercy who are following us and pushing us forward, until the day that abortion is no longer allowed in this country and in this nation, together we're going to stand and be silent no more. Thank you.